Welcome to One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers, where we get curious about what makes us tick. I'm joined today with a man who enjoys painting pictures with words. Welcome, Luke Berridge.
Hi Ian, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, great. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. So let's kick off. I've got a couple of questions to sort of navigate the conversation we have, but let's start off with helping people understand what you do.
Okay, so I do a few things. I'd say my main job at the moment is I'm the head of development at Polychrome Studios, a startup filmmaking company that does documentary, branded content, actor showreels, basically anything a client wants, we will get done for them. This podcast, for example. I also write and crew on narrative shorts, and other than that, I am a rather lackluster student at the University of York.
Great stuff. Well, look, what would be really good to start us on our journey is to help us understand, how did you arrive here? How did you arrive at York, Polychrome Studios? If we can follow the thread back for as far as that thread is memorable, where did it all start?
Well, I guess it goes back to as far back as I can remember. Yeah, this is somewhere that I never thought I would end up at when I was a child. My dad owned his own computer repair company, so I grew up around computers. Whenever there wasn't someone at home to take care of me, I'd just go to work with him, and he'd pay me £2-3 to box up nonsense. I'm pretty sure he didn't actually need it doing. He would just send me into a corner with a bunch of metal things and say, order them. It might have hindered his work for all I know, but...
And did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was spending time with my dad, I thought. It was. No, because he'd just shove me off and then he'd do his work that he had to do. But no, yeah, I think I enjoyed it. He used to set this challenge. It was a challenge. I call it a challenge, but it isn't. It was impossible. He had somehow imprinted like a £2 coin into the concrete floor of the garage he worked out of and said, if you can get it out, you can keep it. That was impossible without power tools, so I could never do that. But yeah, I did enjoy it. So I guess I grew up around computers, and because of that, it inspired me to take computer science at school. And for the longest time, I thought I was going to be a programmer. I was really big into video games as a kid, so I guess my dream was make video games for a living. I don't think I quite understood what that entailed as a child. I thought it just meant clicking on Mario and putting him in a different background. But then when it came to picking my GCSEs, obviously I picked computer science, and I didn't really know what else to pick because I was so enamored with this idea of becoming a programmer. That's all I thought I was going to do. And my drama teacher at the time told me to pick drama. And I thought, okay, sure. I don't really care what my other options are. Drama sounds easy. So I took drama. And then it got to the stage where I realized that drama was the subject I looked forward to the most. And this was a very difficult thing to discover where I was being taught. I attended an all-boys grammar school in South London, and this was very, very typical. I tell people don't believe me where I say the things we used to do. This old hall made of stone, the outside had a statue of a lion and a unicorn. We used to have flags of the different houses above all the cups they won. Everyone's names would get etched in like gold plating into the wall whenever they won some big award. We used to chant our Latin motto at the start of every assembly in the morning. It felt like Hogwarts or this ancient institution that really shouldn't exist in the modern day.
Yeah.
And because of that, it was this extremely traditionalist, toxic, elitist environment. And I have this very specific memory of being in year 7. All year 7 boys at this grammar school had to do this, I think they called it the assault course. It wasn't. It was they drag you out into a cold field in December and they make you run through rivers for a few miles. And I have a very specific memory that will probably be etched in my head forever, where our head teacher came out and said, this assault course, once you complete this, this is how you become men.
Wow.
And that thought sticks in all our 11-year-old brains for the entirety of our most developmental period in our lives. It's that thought that now looking back sticks with me and makes me realize why I was so unhappy in that institution, because I looked forward to drama. You know, I was an athletic child. I played rugby because that was what our school was known for, rugby. So once again, it was forcing a sport where you throw everyone out into the cold and get them to fight each other.
Yep.
And then you say, and this is manhood.
Stereotypical stuff.
Exactly. It's incredibly basing gender identity off of physical attributes, which is just this bizarre backwards notion to me now. But at the time, it made complete sense.
And very influential on you on that journey at the time.
Exactly.
You mentioned your teacher suggested you take drama. Do you think they saw something that maybe others weren't seeing at that point?
I mean, I'd like to think so. If we can pretend I have some innate star power that no one else has. There's the pessimist in me thinks that she just wanted enough students so that she could teach a GCSE course. So she went around asking everyone to take drama. I don't know. I felt like she was quite fond of me, because back when everyone has to do it in year 7 and 8, no one took it seriously. No. I was always quite into films and TV shows. So to me, it was fun to almost play out these moments of my favorite films or TV shows or something, or at least something akin to that with whatever play we were studying at the time. Yeah. So I think because of that, it's rough to say I took it seriously, because I don't think I did. I think I just put more effort in than other people.
And you enjoyed it. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. You mentioned that the drama became this subject that you looked forward to that.
Yeah, I really did, because it was my opportunity, at least at GCSE, because so many people took it, and I did as well, I guess, subconsciously took it because they thought it would be easy. No one put effort in. So this was I would always get cast as the main person or whatever. This was my one thing in school. Everyone was so academically inclined. I'd go to maths class and I wouldn't be the best. I'd go to English, I wouldn't be the best. Physics, you name it, I would never be the best. There was something about drama where I would get it. And whether it's because I have a particularly posh accent or because I have variation in my tone sometimes, it was something that I was better than everyone else at this stage in my life. And that meant a big deal to me in an institution so focused on accomplishment.
Yeah.
And there was nothing about nurturing mental health or kindness or companionship. It was just hit these goals.
Yeah.
And if you can hit them, we'll reward you, we'll give you that dopamine. And drama was the one subject I could do that in.
So it's really interesting. The pictures so far on the journey is you've got this kind of almost like traditional approach so far. This toxic environment where you need to be this kind of person. Yet there was this thread started of something that you really enjoyed, and you talk passionate about it even now. So what happened? So you obviously then pursued the drama. Where did that take you?
Well, around year 11, I was having extreme struggles with my mental health, and I realized I just needed to get out of that place. I needed a change, a fresh start, because I didn't know what was causing it, but I think I mostly blamed the school, and I thought if I could get a complete restart, then things might work out better for me. Mm-hmm. So I looked at my life, what do I enjoy? Turns out I don't enjoy programming as much as I thought I would. I enjoy drama. And it's this absurd path with no safety net. But I thought I really wanted to give it a go. So I auditioned for the Brit School, got in, and then their admin team forgot to tell me I got in until 3 weeks after I had joined a different sixth form. They just called my mum up one day and said, Luke hasn't been showing up to school. And my mum went, he doesn't go there. So that was fun for me, but it's something that I can't say that I could regret it because it wasn't my fault. It's not something that I wish had happened, because realistically, what I know about the Brit School now is unless you're Tom Holland or Adele, you're nobody.
Yeah.
So I went to a comprehensive, which taglined itself as with a specialism in the arts.
Okay.
So I took drama because that's what I enjoyed. I took English literature because I like to think I'm good with words. And then on the open day, I noticed they did film studies. And film studies struck me as English literature, but with films, which meant I didn't have to read. Mm-hmm. So that was a much more enticing path. And then it clocked on a few months in that film studies was now the subject I looked forward to the most.
Right.
Because
so it had taken the place of drama. It was kind of just sort of honing in and following a passion.
And I still very much enjoyed the other two subjects because everything was revolving around stories, and I guess it started to click when I got older that I wasn't enamored by a specific discipline. I just enjoyed stories and telling stories and analyzing stories and what they mean and character, and that's what I wanted to do. But film studies and film was the one that, I don't know, there was something about it, whether it was its accessibility or the fact that it was the ultimate combination of every other medium. That is what struck me as being the goal, the dream, film.
It's interesting. You mentioned something there, which just kind of sparks an interest in me there as well. You talk about this, telling stories, and I know, from a lot of the stuff that I get involved in, this ability to convey a message through telling a story, I think it's hugely powerful. It's really interesting to see how you arrived at that. But I think storytelling is really, really powerful.
Yeah, and in my mind, that's what people connect with. If I have a moral message that I want to explain to people, then I could do that, but no one's going to pay attention because they have no reason to care.
Yeah.
I'm just some guy telling them what I think.
Yeah.
You create a story, you give them a reason to care, and by the time you've told them your moral message, they realize that they actually care about it because they got themselves invested in these characters, in this world that you created.
Yes.
And that's how you, almost like manipulatively or subconsciously, insert your worldview on them. And I guess that's more of a case with more didactic stories. But the second someone gets invested in this fictional world that you've created, you kind of have them in the palm of your hand, and that's when you can talk about the things you actually want to talk about.
So far, we've come from this toxic environment. You enjoyed drama, followed that thread. Now we've got to the point where film studies has replaced that as your passion. That was your most enjoyed spot. So what happens next?
Every transformative stage of your life, every time you move to a new stage, I like to look at where I am and the things I've done and what have I enjoyed the most. And when I realized that stories and film, this is what I wanted to do, I looked back to a point when I was 16, where my drama teacher, who's going to come across in this story as extremely pushy, but she was lovely. She got me to enter a playwriting competition. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I think she just wanted a submission from the school, probably for some arbitrary reason that I was never told, and she wanted me to do it. And I didn't really take it seriously because it was just something that like I said, I wasn't a very good student. I skipped class a lot. I was probably too busy doing other things, whether it was playing video games in my room or hanging out with people in a park, being a delinquent. I was procrastinating writing this play until the night before the submission, and I threw something together based on an idea I once had of when you die, you get to pick between heaven and hell, and for whatever reason, this main character is the first person in history, all of human history, to pick hell. So I wrote a play about that in a night, and I happened to get shortlisted, one of 10 out of thousands of entries across the country, and so my play got read at the National Theatre in London. Brilliant. After me not putting in any effort whatsoever. Right. And I looked at that achievement and I thought, maybe that's what I'm good at and that's what I want to do. Because after I wrote the story and then I watched it get performed, that had something within me. Watching other people watch the words I'd written down, that was so amazing to me that could happen and that could be a potential future. So I discovered that I wanted to write. However, I was also being kind of realistic at the time, and I understood that writing as a career, 1 in a trillion, that is never going to happen unless I will probably win the lottery before that happens. So I wanted a career that was still somewhat within the industry that I was interested in, that being film, storytelling, however you want to phrase it. So I started doing a degree at the University of York for film and television production, which then I met a few people in group chats and whatnot before, one of them being your eldest, Charlie Travers. Yeah. And we talked a few times, we'd hung out a few times, but we never really worked together or collaborated on anything. We didn't really know what each other's strengths were. We were in the same seminar group for a couple things. Then Charlie and I, we started working together completely by luck. A friend of ours approached me about working on a short film of his, because it was during lockdown COVID times and he wanted to cast my housemate. However, obviously he couldn't enter our home and shoot with him, so he wanted me to be the second unit director and do all the shooting of my housemate. That film ended up getting pushed back, but I was still attached, so I got invited onto a call where he started this production studio where Max, his name's Max, he started this production studio, Take 22 Films. Mm-hmm. Charlie also happened to be on the call because he had done some visual effects work for Max on a couple films in the past. And Charlie happened to mention on the Zoom call that he wanted to make a film with a really, really big robot. And I mean, I guess I grew up on science fiction stories. My dad loved Star Wars and Blade Runner and Star Trek. So that's what I grew up on. That's kind of what I was obsessed with when I was a child. Mm-hmm. But when you're an 18-year-old university student, you don't have the budget, or at least I didn't think that was something that was possible until Charlie said he was capable of creating a realistic looking robot in visual effects. So I wrote a story about a robot. I liked it. So first draft, sent it to Charlie, sent it to Max. They both liked it. We got talking. We started making this thing. And by having me and Charlie work together on a project for the first time, we discovered that we were incredibly similar people. However, our skill sets were polar opposites in the industry. I mean, you know him. He is a technical wizard. He can make anything look, sound, you name it, good. That is what his thing is. That is his passion. That is clear. But, and he won't get mad at me for saying this because he will also attest to this, he doesn't know how to tell a story. He doesn't know how actors work. He is incredible at what he does, but he struggles with more of the theory side of it. Mm-hmm. And that's where I come in because I struggle with everything he does. And that is why we quite literally a yin-yang team, because everything I'm bad at, he's great at. And I'd like to say vice versa.
So it's interesting. I mean, even here, what we've got is, following the thread from drama through to film studies and now to university, and following that passion, you now start to find other people who have approached at that, but through different routes, which are kind of is almost evidence, if we needed it, that there isn't a prescriptive route here, is there? You know, to wherever we arrive in life, there isn't a prescriptive route, and it's the differences that actually make this quite exciting. So, go on. I'm intrigued to hear more. So, the big robot concept. Where does this go now?
The big robot concept is actually still in post production. We're waiting for our editor to get done, and then Charlie can start on the VFX. But the way that Take 22 worked is, instead of just working on one film at a time, Max wanted everyone to be creative and make their own films almost all at once, and then we'd all crew through each other. So we were just throwing a bunch of films at the wall, which meant Charlie and I were working together a lot. So we became very good friends because of the proximity that we had to each other. We were both very similar-minded in how we approached each new project, how we thought the company should run, things like that. And we got to a stage where Charlie and I realized that we wanted to start making money off of this thing. However, Max was all great intentioned, I'm sure. He was very dead set on Take 22 not being for profit. But Charlie and I were talking about expanding it as a different venture into doing actor showreels. So I guess what started as a dream is every time we'd be carrying kit to set, we would just talk about starting our own company where we just did actor showreels and we made money off of it, because what we did was, the plan was for me to abuse all of my acting contacts that I had made at the university campus, and everyone that wanted to be an actor, we would essentially say, we have this service, we can provide it for you, give us money, we will do it. And then over summer, we decided to just go ahead and do it and start this company, and we pulled in a couple of other people, two others, Hannah McVicker and Austin Jones, because Charlie and I are very gung-ho, and we need people to pull us back.
Yeah.
But they're those people.
Yeah.
And we think the four of us make a great team, and that is how Polychrome Studios got started.
Brilliant.
And it's what I'm passionate about right now. And Charlie and I were doing a job literally just yesterday down in London, and while we were walking around London, we realized that this is kind of what we want to do. We just want to go around the UK, or hell, maybe even the world in the future, and just shoot things for independent businesses and work with clients and different people and tell stories, basically.
You talk about doing actor showreels to make some money from it, but there's actually a passion behind that, isn't there?
Yeah. So when I was about 16 and I was thinking about drama's what I enjoy, I thought, yeah, let's become an actor, because that's a real thing that you can do. And I went on auditions. Once I got paid to attend an audition for a McDonald's advert. Didn't get it, but I got paid, so that's a win. And it wasn't working out, and I had sunk money into getting headshots and being a part of the agency and having a profile on Spotlight and everything that I quickly realized 10 million people have also done, and it actually doesn't help you get anywhere. The industry abuses these people with dreams, because they know that we will sink whatever we can into this dream for people's idea of fame and fortune and being Tom Cruise or whatever. For me, it was, I want people to find representation and get noticed by casting directors without having to sink a ridiculous amount of money into it. Because one of the issues with acting is casting directors and the top private agencies that you can't just audition for, they want to see showreels. They want to see you doing professional work. However, unless you've already been cast in professional work because you have one of those agencies or you know one of those casting directors, there is no professional looking footage of you. Yeah. So our plan, at least what was when it was just gonna be me and Charlie at the start, was I would work with the actors, discuss with them what kind of actor they wanted to be, what they wanted to show off, then find scenes for them or write their own scenes, and then Charlie would make it look gorgeous, and then that would be their show reel, and it looks like they're in real films or something, but they aren't. because they haven't had the opportunity to be. That is something that I wish I had when I was 16, because when I was attending these McDonald's advert auditions for really pointless, lowbrow comedy, the one thing going through my head is nobody knows what I'm capable of.
Well, nobody knows what I'm capable of. That's powerful, isn't it? Because, yeah, how would people know that unless you've had experience and they see you? So the Showreels is a way of
exactly
doing that.
It's showing what you can do. That Showreel.
Yeah,
it's in the name. And like I said, because I was in that wanting to be an actor position, and I gave up because I was 16 and I couldn't afford to keep it up. I didn't want to charge extortionate amounts of money because I didn't want to be part of that just capitalist machine where we suck money out of people that are trying to do something creative and make something of themselves and do what they want to do. So we were going to, and plus we were just students.
Yeah.
So we were gonna make these showreels for people at what we believe are reasonable prices. And it wasn't, and as much as we did want a job and there was some monetary drive behind it, for me at least, there was a passion there about helping people that were in the position that I was in a few years ago.
And that's, I guess, so Polychrome's mission, if you like, at the minute is to find ways of helping those people. I don't like using the word the underdog, but the alternative route. Those people who maybe haven't got the capital or even the support network to break into this kind of area. These are the people you're looking to help.
Yeah, and I mean, some subconscious part of me has always mildly resented people with these safety nets and these connections, because when I was at the grammar school, I was there as one of the few low-income, free school meal kind of students. Everyone else was phenomenally middle class, and they knew people, and they could afford to go to places that I couldn't afford to go to. And it kind of isolated and ostracized me in a way. And I still had friends, and they didn't do it on purpose, but they didn't realize that I couldn't afford what they could afford. So in the back of my mind, there's this idea of privileged people who don't realize they're privileged really sort of irked me. And that's why I wanted this mission to help people that didn't have those connections. And that's why Polychrome, we want to do so much work with independent businesses, because we're in a corporation-dominated environment. Mm-hmm. Our only shot is if we help each other.
Yeah.
Because if we repost an independent business and they repost us, and we each have 200 followers, now we can both get 250 followers. And that's just a stepping stone.
And somewhere in there is going to be that person who's got that dream that maybe they don't think they've got a hope of achieving, and maybe there's just that bit of hope that you can help. Luke, it's been an absolute joy talking to you and hearing you talk passionately about that thread and that journey. It really has been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. I'm going to ask you one last question, and that is, if you were able to write a note on a piece of paper and put it into the hand of the Luke Berridge in that toxic environment where it was all about fitting the norm, what would you write on that note, knowing what you know today?
I think he would just need reassurance that he's gonna get out, and that would be if I could hand a note to anyone in that school or a school like it, it's get out. You're not being nurtured there. Everything you want is being inhibited, and you can't be who you want to be if you're in an environment like that. And that is what is so sad about these institutions that really shouldn't exist anymore.
So it's follow your passion, but also have have that belief, and maybe through a support network to be able to step boldly in that direction that you want to go, even without a safety net. Luke, again, thanks ever so much.
Thank you for having me.
That's great stuff. Well, if you've enjoyed what you've watched and listened to today, you can watch plenty more. To do that, you can follow us on our various socials, which we shall put in the comments below. You can visit thinkingitbetter.com. You can follow me at Ian M. Travers or at ThinkingitBetter. And we look forward to you sharing future podcasts with us. Thanks very much.